I've been driving trucks for 16 years, mostly long haul, interstate, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, Oregon. Routes I know well enough that I sometimes arrive at the destination with no memory of the last 100 miles. Not because anything happened, just muscle memory. The body drives while the mind goes somewhere else. Kevin Marsh worked for the same company for 6 years. We weren't close friends, coworkers. We saw each other at the depot, talked on the shared CB channel, sometimes crossed paths on the same routes. He was the kind of person who always sounded a little more tired than he needed to. Not complaining, not asking for anything, just something in his voice. Like the last few days had been harder on him than you thought, and he'd stopped pretending otherwise. I knew him 6 years, but we only really talked a handful of times. Once at a roadside diner outside Winnemucca, when we were both stuck because of a closed stretch of highway. We sat there for a couple of hours. He talked about his daughter, who was 8 at the time, and how they went fishing on weekends when he was home. He said it without much emotion, just talked. But you could tell it mattered to him. In March, 3 years ago, Kevin missed a turn on a Nevada highway. Bad road conditions, rain, night. He died at the scene. He was 38. A few of us from the company went to the funeral. His daughter was there. The same girl he'd talked about at the diner. I didn't approach them. I stood in the back for a while and left. A year after that, I was hauling a load from Boise to Reno. Standard route, one I run about 4 times a year. Night, around 1:30, the road almost empty. The Nevada desert at night. No lights, no movement, just one strip of road stretching ahead. Somewhere past Winnemucca, I switched to Channel 3 on the CB. No reason. My hand just moved to the dial, the way it does on long night runs. Channel 3 is usually empty. Sometimes you catch another driver, sometimes nothing. I heard a voice, not clear, some static, the way it gets in mountain terrain when the signal bounces between frequencies, but recognizable. Male, slow, tired. Saying something I couldn't quite make out, then a pause, then again. I didn't understand at first. Kept driving. Watched the road. Half listened. Then something in the voice made me pay attention. Something familiar in the rhythm, in how it paused between words. My hand pressed the talk button on its own. Who's on? Pause. Static. Long, 5 seconds or more. Dan. My name. Quiet, like someone talking to himself, not into a mic. Not, this is Dan. Not, is that Dan? Just my name, spoken into the air. I asked who it was. Long silence. Then, you know who. The voice was Kevin's voice. I'd heard it enough times to be sure. Same tone. Same feeling that the person hadn't slept in a couple of days and wasn't trying very hard to hide it anymore. The same voice from the diner outside Winnemucca, the one that had talked about fishing with his daughter. I pulled over, turned off the music, sat with the radio in my hand, told myself, 9 hours behind the wheel, any voice can sound familiar. I'm hearing what I want to hear because he died somewhere near here. Fatigue and association. Then the voice said, don't take Route 14. Route 14. A small side road I sometimes use as a shortcut to cut 20 minutes off the approach to Reno. Not the main highway. Not something every driver on the route knows. More like local knowledge, the kind that builds up over years. The kind you won't find in any navigation app as a recommended route. Kevin knew about Route 14. We'd talked about it at the depot once, a long time ago. I wasn't sure he'd even remembered it. I didn't answer. Put the radio on the passenger seat. Pulled back onto the highway and kept going. At the turnoff for Route 14, I slowed down, sat with the turn signal ticking, stared at the exit. Then I took it anyway, mostly because I didn't want a voice on the radio deciding my route. Because that's not how things work, and I know it. And I'm not the kind of person who changes plans because of something his own tired brain invented. Route 14 ran fine for the first few miles. Quiet, dark, empty. A narrow road through low hills, no lane markings, no shoulder lights. I knew it well. A long, straight stretch ahead, then a couple of gentle turns, then back onto the main highway. Nothing unusual. Then I saw him. On the shoulder, maybe 50 yards ahead. A silhouette against the dark sky. Male figure, standing straight, facing the road. One arm raised. Not thumbing a ride. That's a different gesture. Arm out and slightly up. He was waving. Hard, wide, like someone signaling stop. Right now, do not pass. I eased off the gas. Didn't stop. Just lifted my foot instinctively. There are no pedestrians on Route 14 at 2 in the morning. It's a bypass road, not a populated area. The nearest house is 9 or 10 miles away. The headlights crept toward him as I closed the distance. The dark silhouette filled in with details. Jeans, jacket, baseball cap. His arm didn't drop. He was looking straight at me. When the headlights reached him, I saw the face. I hit the gas and drove past even though my hand was pulling toward the brake. Because what I saw in that 1 second while the lights were on his face had no business being there. It was Kevin's face. Not similar. Not something reminded me. His face. The same nose with that small bump on the bridge. The same jawline. The same thinning temples he always covered with a baseball cap. The same baseball cap, for that matter. Blue, with some baseball team's logo on it. I'd seen it on him 20 times. I drove and watched the shoulder in the rearview mirror. Empty. No figure, no silhouette. Just a dark road behind me. The rest of the drive to Reno, I didn't turn the radio on. Drove in silence on autopilot and went through every reasonable explanation I could find. Bad lighting, exhaustion, pareidolia, where the brain assembles a familiar face out of random shadows. 9 hours behind the wheel, not enough sleep, on a stretch of highway tied in my mind to a person who's gone. The brain fills in the rest. Physiology, not anything else. I dropped the load, called home, slept 5 hours in the cab at a truck stop. In the morning, on the way back, I stopped at that spot on Route 14, got out. The shoulder there is wide, gravel, no footprints, nothing to suggest anyone had been standing there. I told one person about it a few weeks later, an older driver at the depot who'd been running routes before me. He listened to the whole thing, didn't interrupt, then said, "Don't take it a second time." I didn't ask what he meant. I haven't driven Route 14 since, though I still try to convince myself I imagined all of it, that a face in headlights is what a tired brain does with a stranger on a dark road. I pass through. Klamath Falls a few times a year. Small city in southern Oregon. Nothing remarkable. A couple of traffic lights, a diner on the way out, a gas station with a convenience store where the coffee is always too bitter, but I get it anyway. I stop there if the run is long, or I just drive through. Klamath Falls is the kind of place that only exists for you as a point on a route, not as somewhere. The first time I saw the boy was in October 2009. I remember that exactly because I wrote it in my road log, not because I thought it was strange. Just a spare second between miles, my eyes drifted to the shoulder, and something caught. He was standing on the shoulder of the main road at the edge of town, a boy around 10 or 11, jeans and a red and black flannel shirt. Standing straight, arms at his sides, looking at the road. Not hitchhiking, not waiting for a bus, just standing. It was around 7 in the morning. No cars nearby, no adults. I slowed, drove past. Figured he was waiting for someone. A school bus or his parents about to pull up. It happens. Next time I came through was February. Same spot at the edge of town, same shoulder. Boy in the same flannel shirt, same jeans. Roughly the same time. I stopped, rolled down the window, asked if everything was okay. He turned his head, looked at me in silence, turned back to the road. I waited about 10 seconds, drove on. I didn't make much of it. Kid who likes standing by the road in the mornings. People have strange habits. Then it started happening every time. May, September, January. Every time, him. Same shirt, same posture, same time. I started noting it in the log. KF boy, present. Like marking a reliable landmark on the route. In 2012, I tried to reason through it. Wrote next to another entry. Maybe multiple different kids with similar look? But the shirt was the same. I'd memorized it. Red and black checks, right sleeve slightly rolled. Every time. In 2013, there was one run when I arrived in Klamath Falls later than usual. Around 11 in the morning. The edge of town was empty. Clean shoulder. I noticed my own relief and resented myself for it. In 2014, I stopped and made conversation with the cashier at a gas station in town. Asked casually whether there were kids who liked to hang around near the entrance to town. She shrugged, said she didn't know of any kid on that stretch. I didn't explain why I was asking. In 2015, at home, I tried searching online. Missing children in Klamath Falls. Accidents at the edge of town. Children reported missing in Oregon over the past 20 years. Found a few cases. None matched. I closed the laptop and didn't go back to that search. In 2017, I took a trainee along on one run. Young guy, new to the job. When we were coming into Klamath Falls, I didn't say anything. Just watched out of the corner of my eye. He looked at the shoulder, at the boy, then turned back toward the window. Said nothing. I almost asked him whether he'd seen anyone. I didn't. 5 years went by. Then 7. Then 10. In October 2019, exactly 10 years after the first time, I was at that same spot at the edge of town, and I saw him again. Same shirt, same place, same steady look at the road. He hadn't grown. I stopped the truck right on the road, not on the shoulder, right on the lane, because I didn't have time to think about it. Just hit the brakes and sat there. Looked at him through the windshield. A boy around 10 or 11. The same age he'd been in 2009. 10 years, and he hadn't changed by a single inch. Same height, same proportions, same set of the shoulders I'd seen in the dark and at dawn, in summer and winter, more than 20 times. I turned off the engine and got out. I walked over. He didn't step back, didn't tense up, just stood there and waited. When I stopped about 6 feet away, he raised his eyes. A completely ordinary face. Not frightening, not blank. Just a kid's face, looking up at you, waiting for you to say something. I asked what his name was. Silence. I asked where his parents were. Silence. Then he said, "You're late again, Ray." My name. Quiet. No expression. Like stating a fact. Not a question. Not surprise. Just, "You're late again." the way you say it to someone who already knows they're at fault. I said, "Late for what?" He dropped his eyes back to the road, like the question had nothing to do with him, like everything that needed to be said had already been said. I stood there another 3 minutes or so, didn't know what to do. Took out my phone, thought about taking a picture, but my hand didn't go through with it. Not out of fear, just something inside said this wasn't the right thing to do right now. I went back to the truck, sat down, sat for a few seconds without starting the engine, tried to decide what to do. Call the police? Say what? There's a kid here who looks the same as he did 10 years ago. Call an ambulance? Take a photo? I took out my phone, held it, put it back. The engine started on the first try. I watched the shoulder in the side mirror as I pulled out. He stood in the same spot and watched me go. Then I turned and he was out of sight. In town, I stopped at the same gas station where I'd asked questions 5 years earlier. Different cashier, younger. I described the boy, the shirt, the jeans, the spot at the edge of town. She said she didn't know anything about it. Suggested I call the local police if I thought the child was alone and in danger. I said no, everything's fine. Got a coffee. Left. Back in the cab, I opened the log. October 2009, KF boy, present. October 2019, KF boy, present. More than 20 entries between them, all the same. I stared at those entries for a long time. Then I wrote next to the last one, ask name, no answer, knows mine. Closed the log. For weeks after that, I kept turning over the words, you're late again. Late for what? Late to what? The phrase had never come up before. 10 years of silence, and then this. Again. Like this conversation had happened before. I'd just missed it, or forgotten it. Or like it wasn't about a specific event, but about something ongoing, something I was perpetually late to, over and over. I didn't find an answer. I stopped looking for one. I don't stop at the edge of Klamath Falls anymore, but I can't go around it. Too much of a detour. 40 extra minutes on every run. So I drive straight through and look ahead. Don't turn my head toward the shoulder. That works, as long as it works, every time he's there. I don't stop at small gas stations at night unless I have to. That rule developed on its own over the years. Not paranoia, just practice. Better to fuel up at big stations along the highway where there's light, traffic, people. Small late-night gas stations are always fluorescent lights that hum, and a person behind the counter who watches you like you're the first living thing they've seen in hours. Nothing scary, just uncomfortable. Last October I had to. A run from Great Falls to Salt Lake, and I misjudged the fuel. My fault. A detour I decided on that same morning. Checked the forecast, saw a snow advisory on the pass, decided to go around. Didn't tell anyone. I logged the route as standard with dispatch because the detour seemed minor in scale. But it added a couple of hours and, as it turned out, burned fuel faster than I'd calculated. Somewhere in Montana, around 1 in the morning, on a 2-lane road that my GPS was barely tracking, updating slowly, losing signal on the hills, a gas station sign appeared. Small, 2 pumps, a lit convenience store, empty lot. I pulled in, fueled up, went inside for coffee. It was warm and quiet inside, fluorescent lights going, a smell of something baked coming from a back room. Behind the counter sat an older man, maybe 70. Lean, slight, flannel shirt, thin-framed glasses. reading a newspaper spread open across the counter. When I came in, he looked up, nodded, went back to it. I got coffee from the machine, put money on the counter, turned toward the door. Coming from Great Falls? I stopped, turned around. He was looking at me over his glasses. I said yes. Didn't go through the mountains. Smart. I said it was my call because of the weather. Asked if the snow would clear up. He shrugged. By morning, sure. But you were right to skip it? Went back to the paper. I went outside, put the coffee on the cab roof, walked around the truck, checked the tires. Thought about this man. How did he know I was from Great Falls and hadn't come through the mountains? Maybe he guessed from the direction. Maybe from the plates. Maybe the only people who come down this road are the ones taking this bypass, and he'd figured out how to read that a long time ago. When I came back around the truck to the cab, he was standing in the doorway of the store, holding a folded piece of paper. Here, he said, and held it out. You'll want this. It was a sheet of notebook paper, folded in quarters. I unfolded it right there under the station light. A map, drawn in pencil, by hand, neat. My route, not approximate, precise. I recognized the turns I'd just driven. I recognized the fork where the GPS signal had dropped for a few minutes. I recognized the bridge over an unnamed creek that I only knew from having once seen it in daylight. The map continued forward, the whole way to Salt Lake, with notes in the margins, in small, careful handwriting. Slow here, pothole right lane here, fog until 9 a.m. here, rocks off right hillside here, keep left. I looked up at him, asked how he knew all this. Know the road, he said, flat. Like that was a complete answer. Then he turned and went back inside. I unfolded the map the rest of the way. It was a large sheet, folded twice, and I hadn't opened the bottom half yet. There was a sketch of a city. I didn't recognize it immediately. Then I looked at the surrounding notes, the distances marked, the way the highway was drawn on the approach. It was my neighborhood in Salt Lake. I've lived there 7 years. I know what that grid of streets looks like. In the lower section of the map, there was a small square, outlined twice. The square sat at the intersection of the two streets where my house is. Next to it was written, "Last Stop." I went back into the store. Empty. Counter, newspaper, lights, nobody behind the counter. I walked to the back room, knocked, opened it. Shelving, boxes, a sink. Nobody. Went back outside, walked around the store. No car. Nothing in the lot except my truck. I got in the cab and sat there for a while with the map in my hands. Then I folded it and put it in the glove box. I'm on I-15 southbound right now, about 75 miles from Salt Lake. The fog was exactly where the map said it would be. The pothole in the right lane too. And the rocks off the hillside. I moved left a second before I even remembered the note. Every detail on the map checked out. Every single one. The map is in the glove box, and I keep trying not to think about the last line. But the thought comes back every few minutes, like coming back to a sore tooth when you know you shouldn't. Last stop. He marked my house. Drew a square at the right intersection. Knows where I come back to. I try to think about it calmly. Maybe he just meant the final point on the route, the destination, where you park the truck and go inside. That's the logical reading. Last, as in last on the list. But then, why not destination or endpoint? Why last? And why did he know my house? My wife is at her sister's for the weekend. I knew that before I left. I'll get home around 3 in the morning. Dark house. Park the truck on the street, walk up the path, unlock the door. Same as always. I've come home exactly like that hundreds of times. But last stop is written by hand in careful pencil by a man who drew my intersection more accurately than any navigation app. Who knew about the fog, the pothole, the rocks on the hillside? Who disappeared from a closed convenience store at 1 in the morning on an empty Montana highway? I think about the word last. It doesn't mean final on a list. It means after this, there isn't one. Terminal. The one after which there is no next. I think about the old man who vanished from a locked store, who mapped a route I invented alone that same morning. Who knew details of this road that aren't Googleable, aren't askable, don't exist anywhere anyone would write them down? Who drew my block, my corner? Maybe he just lives nearby. Maybe he's spent years watching this road and knows it the way I know mine. Maybe last stop is just his way of marking the end of the route, and there's nothing ominous in it. I open the glove box, take out the map. Look at the square in the bottom corner one more time. The 2 words next to it. Then I fold the map, put it back, and close the glove box. 75 miles. Driving home.